My name's Tim, and I was one of the 2 primary boat carriers on Canoe4Covid.
My name's Kalen, and I carried the barrel, as well as working on filming and our media promotion.
My name's Will Vise. I was the trip navigator and double pack carrier.
Hi, I'm Jacob, and I was the pack carrier and fisherman on the trip.
My name's George, and I was a trip chef, and I also carried the Wangoon.
My name is Nolan Aces, and I was one of the boat carriers and also the fire maker.
After conquering the Missinabi River and making it to Missinabi, we now sought to tackle a treacherous path between us and Chapleau. A confusing area with long portages, dense forests, and swampy lakes. Missinabi would truly test what we were made of. Before any of that though, we'd have to tackle the much anticipated Little Missinabi River.
We started out on Missinabi Lake, and after talking with those 2 guys last night about Little Missinabi River and how traversable that would be, we made the decision to head up the Little Missinabi River to try and get to Little Missinabi Lake. Surprisingly, we got on the river and we found, the campsite we stayed at last night was really nice. We had really nice well-maintained portages all day.
Nice save. This rock is super slippery. Out on the moss.
The upriver paddling that we did was not bad at all.
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive, a bit slippery. It's just faster to portage.
Ballers.
Nothing compared to the Missinabi River, or the Missinabi River. We got upstream to through this really well-maintained section of the river, and then at one point we were supposed to portage around some rapids, but we accidentally took a trail. We're not sure if it was intended to be the right trail, like how you're supposed to get up the Little Missinabi, but we ended up taking this trail, and it took us to Trump Lake.
My theory may have been correct. We may have portaged to Trump Lake by accident.
Oh,
There's where we are right now. I think it turned off on top of those big rocks, or we may have gone the wrong way straight from the campsite. That's why Tim was yelling at us, I think.
That makes a lot of sense. I felt like we were maybe gonna cut right to the Little Missinabi.
About a 1.5 kilometer portage, and then we had a short, maybe 300 meter portage to Elbow Lake, and then from there we just followed a creek into Little Missinabi, where we are now. We set up camp, did everything really efficiently. We got here pretty early, so we had a lot of time to sit around, and yeah, it's about 8 now, so we're just heading to bed. And yeah, looking forward to a great day with a lot of bushwhacking tomorrow, and guess we'll see how that goes.
We woke up decently early, and then drank some coffee, paddled the rest of Little Missinabi Lake to the westernmost point in the lake, where there's a creek that flowed to Cam Lake. However, we didn't take the creek, it wasn't really paddleable. We were lucky enough to stumble upon a trail. Although the trail was quite overgrown, we managed to cut and clear a lot of it and made it to Cam Lake, although it took a really long time.
Yeah. So Tim, Will, and I are here for a recon mission. We have the blades, and we're gonna do a little bit of maintaining of this, like, not really portage. It's gonna be a portage by the time we're done, and we're just gonna have some fun with the flag and tape, the compass, the hatchet, and the machetes.
Here I am at the start of the first portage of the day. The boys are further down the trail, but we just pulled up and saw these boats here. Assumed there might be a trail, and there wasn't. So what you're about to see is the work of machetes and flagging tape. About an hour and a half ago, this was just bush. But with hard work, we made it into an actually pretty decent trail. Come take a look.
On Cam Lake, mind you, a lake with no road access and an extremely overgrown trail leading to it, we found a small derelict, sort of broken down cabin. Looked like animals had been in it and ravaged everything. It's pretty surprising, but I mean, hey, the Missinabi area is full of surprises. And then after that, we did a bushwhack off Cam Lake to a logging trail.
Second portage of the day, and Will in his darkness to scout out a path to the logging road, and he's going to come back, flag it, and then I'm going to send this. It's going to be dark, it's going to be gritty.
We walked along the logging road for about 3.5 kilometers.
Despite the rough terrain that day, everything was going extremely well. That is, at least until we ran out of water on the brutal logging road portage.
We've reached the fork in the road. No one just collapsed at the end right there.
Yo, go sit in the shade right now, man. Nolan's dark. Let's get him some water, man.
As Nolan tried his best to push on, I stayed behind to make sure he was alright, while the other boys went ahead to go find water. Unbeknownst to them, they'd gone well past the turnoff to the end of the portage. After running ahead and catching up with them, I brought the whole group back together, and we then proceeded along the correct path and got back on the water.
The boys have now found the road to this unnamed lake near Bolkow. I'm not sure what the name is, it probably has a name. If not, I'm gonna name it Min Lake. Yeah, Jacob's behind me, so I gotta go quick.
Yo, Jacob, if this lake doesn't have a river, doesn't have a name, it's Min Lake.
But look at it!
Min Lake! Does this lake have a name? Min Lake!
Upon arriving at the first of the small chain of lakes, we found a perfectly well-maintained portage with an Algonquin Park portage sign on it, despite the fact it was in the middle of nowhere and you had to schwack and do a massive, long logging road portage just to get there. There was somehow, just in the middle of nowhere, this perfect portage. And it led to a little pond, and at the other end of the little pond, there was not a perfect portage, but rather we had to sort of bushwhack and hop along this swampy creek area.
Boys, going for a quick hike. That's how we do it here in Missinabi. I think they see water. I think I just heard Jacob say I see the lake.
But then after that, for some reason, the perfectly good portage is resumed all the way to Bolkow. Is quite surprising. Yeah, Bolkow Lake is a nice lake. I didn't really anticipate. Originally, when I came up here 2 years ago on my 50 day, I didn't really think I'd be able to get here. So we didn't get here, actually. The way we tried to come, it was all overgrown by fallen trees, and there wasn't really any water, so we had to take a long railroad detour. But finally, after 2 years, we've arrived at this lake without the use of the train tracks. So yeah, it's a pretty great day. The lake, as you can see, is quite nice. You've got a bunch of big hills and cliffs on the north side of the lake, and we had a beautiful beach campsite. But yeah, overall it was a great day, full of adventure, long day.
Today was a pretty short day, but a pretty hard day. We had a 12K paddle right at the start of the day, right down to the end of Bolkow, the mythical lake that didn't exist until we discovered it yesterday. But we didn't really discover it because there was a really nice campsite there. But yeah, so we camped about halfway down the lake, so we had about a 12K paddle this morning. Then we started a 10K portage, 12K portage actually, because we had to portage 2K just to get to the train tracks.
Alright, so the boys just had breakfast, had our GB cereal. Now we're ready to do a 12K. We're just prepping up, tying up our shoelaces properly, getting our packs ready, and yeah, so we'll be portaging along the train tracks soon.
Check out the abandoned RV.
So we portaged that 2 kilometers over to the train tracks, and we started our day, and it's pretty tough, but it's just one of those things, you know, you just sort of start it, and then, you know, you're a kilometer in, 2 kilometers in, you just keep going. It's one of those things where you just get it done, put your mind somewhere else, and then before you know it, it's over.
After a good 2K trek up an overgrown inclined ATV trail, we made it onto the infamous CP railroad tracks, or the Trail of Iron and Tears as I like to call it. Back in the summer of 2018, Tim and I portaged vast distances on these here tracks to get from the north half of Missinabi to the south. Thankfully this year we'd be doing a lot less on the railroad, since we'd managed to get so much farther by water. Even then, we still had a good 9 to 10 clicks on the rails to look forward to. Multiple freight trains passed us by as we hiked in the midday heat. It's actually a pretty neat experience getting to see something so large and so loud when you're out there in the bush.
We had a short paddle from the end of the 10K portage along the railroad tracks to Goldie Lake, where we are now. We left, and a short while later we ended up here, which is apparently an abandoned camp a little bit further down Goldie Lake. I'd estimate, between 5 and 10 kilometers further down Goldie Lake. Yeah, we had a pretty tough headwind on the way here, but it wasn't too bad, and it's 7:30 right now, so the sun should be setting in maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Pretty decent day. So that 12K portage was the kicker, right? That's just what gets you. Here's the Chapleau. So that should be fun. Yeah. Days to come.
Beautiful morning here in Goldie Lake. Not too much wind, a little cloudy, not too much sun. Great paddling conditions. The boys are just getting packed up here, loading up the boats, and it's gonna be a good one. We're going to Happy Day Lodge today. Hopefully our friends there from a couple years ago will still be there, and we can buy some food and stuff and use their washrooms. That'd be pretty cool. Java Monster Energies are essential.
What up?
Despite the cold weather, we committed to the full 34K day. We set out that morning in hopes that our friends at Happy Day Lodge would have some food and drinks available for us when we got there. Before long, it started to rain pretty hard though. The temperature dropped real quick and it became quite tricky to stay warm. Regardless of the circumstances, however, we had no choice but to push on. After a frigid haul through the rain with a relatively long portage along the way, we finally arrived at the all but forgotten town of Nicholson, Ontario. Once the largest producer of railway ties in the British Empire, Nicholson has been reduced to a ghost town with only a few cottages left intact. The rest of the town lays in ruin, decaying in the forest. However, there's still the odd interesting find amongst the rubble.
Abandoned house in Nicholson, Ontario.
As there wasn't much to see beyond a few ruins, we quickly moved on and finished the last of our journey to Happy Day Lodge. By the time we finally arrived, every single one of us was thoroughly soaked and chilled to the bone from the deluge. When we finally entered the office, Bob and Sandra, the same couple from Tim and I's 50 Day, were there to greet us. They let us purchase food from their personal supply and provided us a cabin to sleep in, entirely free of charge. Because of their generosity, what would have likely been a cold night in the rain was instead a comfortable sleep in a warm cabin. After a solid night's rest, we said our goodbyes to Bob and Sandra and made our departure from Happy Day Lodge. We'd done a brief paddle on Windermere Lake when we stumbled upon a number of brutal bushwhacks. I'm thinking we divide this big, one schwack into two schwacks. So just do a tiny schwack here to get to a big dam right there. Drag up over the dam place in, paddle the other end of the pond, and hopefully at the other end of the pond, the schwack at that point isn't microburst area and it's just normal forest. And then we'll attempt from there. Okay.
That sounds good.
Just take it super slow, boys.
Last time I was in the Missinabi area, we'd ended at Happy Day Lodge. This whole stretch south of Windermere Lake was entirely new territory to me. I'd presumed ahead of time that the going would be tough, and was I ever right about that? The number of felled trees is so immense that it bordered on being comedically absurd.
Second bushwhack of the day. We're just chilling, waiting for Will. Pretty not nice. We're just gonna wait for Will and then we're gonna schwack this one.
One day he reached the shore, still haunted by his dream. The earth took to and spoke unfazed by his.
For both stretches of the schwack, I went on ahead to scout out a path. For this second schwack, the terrain was so brutal that even just walking through it without anything on my back was a challenge. Maps had an old road marked halfway through the schwack. Unfortunately, there was almost no trace of it left behind. Surprisingly though, I did manage to find an entire abandoned cabin deep out in the brush, which we later used as a landmark on our odyssey through the woods. I returned to the boys and we began our portage. Right off the bat, it was agonizingly slow going along that stream and up the hill. Upon reaching the top, the trees got so thick we couldn't get the boats through without cutting some of them down. The path of least resistance had become impossible to traverse without bringing in the axes and machetes, and unfortunately, sometimes sharp things cause accidents.
Yeah. Oh, are you good? Let's see.
That's really deep, man.
All right, here, put down that. Go to Nolan with the med kit right now.
That was really stupid.
You know, we always try to be as safe as we can out here with the machetes and the tools, but accidents happen. A little bit of poly. Jacob will be ready to haul the rest of the day.
You guys are watching this at home from your TVs or your computers. We're out here in the middle of nowhere, helping our boys.
We were maybe a third of the way through the day when Jacob hurt his leg. As a result, we had no choice but to bandage him up quickly and carry on. With great effort, we finally made it to the other end of this grueling schwack and got on the Windermere River. We paddled for a short while with a comfortable tailwind before coming to a series of upstream drags around some of the Windermere's smaller rapids. We didn't drag for long though, since the terrain eventually made it easier just to schwack alongside the river.
So we start the schwack, middle of the forest, and what do we have here? Railroads with the boys. Woo! Look at that. Crazy.
At this point, we were pretty close to the site. After a short EDM-fueled 5-kilometer portage to Wangoon Lake, we set up camp on a tiny barren island. Day 25 started out cold. However, this did not harm our morale, since we knew we'd be situated comfortably in Chapleau by that evening. Although it was a relatively short day, it certainly wasn't an easy one. We'd soon encounter numerous of Mother Nature's hindrances, which stood to impede our progress.
Yo, Nolan, come up to where I am. Yeah.
When?
Down right in there.
Pass me one?
Yeah, I think this once was a trail.
Dude, like, this is why I think we should do the 5K. We have like 2K of this.
Nah.
Yeah, we do, man.
This will be fun.
Alright.
Are you not enjoying this?
I am. It's just gonna take. This was 500 meters, man. The other one's gonna be like 2K.
Yeah, but that schwack wasn't even that bad.
No, it wasn't.
After spending all morning bushwhacking through the Chapleau River, we realized that in the name of efficiency, it'd be wiser to just do a 5-kilometer portage along a road around the narrow stretches.
So we've just spotted a huge bear. I don't know if you can see it. Karen's getting a good shot over here, but we spotted this massive bear on the side of our road portage. Just having it. Is that a wolf, maybe?
Oh, I don't know. It's a bear.
It's a bear? Okay, my eyes aren't that good. You can't really see it, but
I haven't even seen a bear yet.
I believe the lake is visible on the horizon, but I do not know. There's a man with a bulldozer behind us, flattening out the road.
The road portage was fairly long, but it brought us to Bertrand Lake, quite close to Chapleau. Upon arriving there, our adventures in Missinabi would conclude, and our segment in the Darklands would begin. After a long and treacherous haul across Missinabi, we'd finally made it to Chapleau. Situated just over 100 kilometers east of Lake Superior, the little town was the starting point for our ambitious segment across uncharted territory towards the Spanish River headwaters. We spent 2 nights in Chapleau, retrieving our food drop, as well as repairing any damaged gear. When we were finally ready to go, we set off into the great unknown, into the Darklands. The first morning after Chapleau was cold, wet, and buggy. We had a 6-kilometer portage right off the bat that took us to Borden Lake. The end of the portage was absolutely teeming with mosquitoes. We couldn't wait to get on the water to evade the insects. At the put-in, we met a very kind man by the name of Norm, who offered us warm coffee and tea before we set off. The lakes immediately after Chapleau were all filled with serene, vibrant blue waters. At first glance, it would seem as though the Darklands we'd expected were nowhere to be found.
Around one corner my past getaways, waiting.
Upon entering the Darklands, there was a slight atmosphere of nervous anticipation among us. We were entering a stretch of territory in which few had tripped before. Despite this, the first few lakes were actually spectacularly beautiful. Perhaps they're among some of the best of the trip.
Until I need it. between the lies, no truth will you find. For those are just words with no meaning. Suits wearing ties.
That was tough with the boat. I couldn't fit through like the trees with the pack. I used the paddles like this and just pushed trees down when I moved. Where's Nolan? Nolan! All right, come here.
My body and mind have ceased to align. I'm plagued with the fear of knowing. To see your...
Okay, I'll make way for the canoes.
I hate poplars so much. Yeah, that's where I slipped right there.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, this lake's proper.
Yeah, it's a proper lake, eh?
What the hell?
On our last schwack of the day from Foot Lake to Cachege Lake, we stumbled upon a strange ATV trail in which we had a bizarre encounter with some mysterious people on a side-by-side. We camped that night in a small clearing next to a dilapidated shack on an island. The Darklands were so far panning out to be quite a strange region. We got off the site at around 9 a.m. The scenery that morning was very similar to the day before. Clear, open water, and vast, beautiful forests.
Second day into the Darklands. Boys' spirits are pretty high. Eating a lot of food. Clear blue lakes. Nothing really that you can complain about. Not too dark yet.
We had a relatively short paddle to the start of the lengthy logging road. From there, we would have to ascend 7 kilometers towards a small trail offshoot that led up to Lackner Lake. Little did we know how merciless this journey would be.
Oh, I've been waiting to find you. Been waiting to find you. Been waiting to find you.
I think it's to the right. Yeah, there. Dude, what? So we just pulled up to where this creek was, expecting to drag for 700 meters. And there's this clean cut trail that leads up to what looks like a cabin, like a beautiful cabin in the woods here. Hope that this is the portage. Fingers crossed.
Cause I looked into your face and I saw your sweet embrace.
Could be a fork. We're going that way down the road where I'm pointing. At the fork you take the right, and then there'll eventually be another fork. At the second fork you take a left. And the third fork we'll regroup.
What is it, Will? Just
Right, left, and then wait.
All right. It's been about 1 kilometer, maybe 2 down this road so far. Yeah, Tim and Nolan are ahead of me with the boats. How hard are them? The boys right behind me. My ankle's starting to feel really loose from when I rolled it yesterday. We're pushing up land right now. We're gonna end this at a mountain. So it's all uphill from here. There's the mountain.
As we drew closer and closer to the lake, the trail thinned out more and more. With each step, the going became tougher and likewise more painful.
Ah! Ah! Ay, ay, ay. Every time I step on a log. Marco! Okay. All right, I'm coming. Dude, I had to leave the barrel back there. What? I'm going back for it, but I fell so bad, man. I really fucked up my ankle. Like, it fucking hurts. Barrel's like 20 meters back.
Just a difficult one, eh? Yeah. Had like, what was it, a 7K portage? 2K, it was just schwacking through like the worst schwack I think I've done this trip so far, and cut on my knee got opened up like twice, which was just horrible, but made it here to this lake within a mountain. Pretty awesome. Gonna spend the last night of being 17 here, so that's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah. Good grind for the birthday. We're on Lackner Lake right now, which is basically inside of a crater that's on top of a mountain. So it's a pretty interesting spot to be at. But it was definitely like really difficult to get here. There were some cart trails that we were able to take for about 5 kilometers, and then we had 3 kilometers of just bushwhacking, and some of it was just super hell. I messed up my ankle yesterday. I rolled it, and going through these bushwhacks just was not compatible with my ankle, and yeah, it took a while. Personally, I was really slow on the portages. All the boys were, but I was in particular, so I felt kind of bad about that. I don't know, this whole day I've been feeling really out of it, headaches, but being here is just, it's kind of calming and relaxing to know that we made it to such a beautiful spot. One of the more beautiful spots I feel like we've been on the trip. And there's nothing here. We had to bush crash. There's just absolutely no sound or anything here. It's beautiful.
So it's day 29, and it was just one of those days that sucked. And so basically we woke up this morning on Lackner Lake, which was already like the day before had just been like ruining bushwhacks and terrible stuff. We woke up, probably got off the site around 9:30, made some coffee. It took a while to boil, so we had a bad fire pit. Then we got off the site, had breakfast at the beginning of the portage. We found some kind of trail going around the perimeter of the lake, and then another trail that was going off in the direction we thought was the one we needed to go, which it was.
Scouting out a schwack right now for Lackner Lake. Topo's Canada Plus says that there should be a trail where I am right now. Clearly that's not the case, but hopes up, keep going in this direction and should find something. If not, boys are gonna have to bushwhack a good 3K, so fingers crossed. So we found the trail. Boys are just waiting for Will to come back. He just assured us that this is it. He's gonna lead the way, and hopefully it doesn't lead to a schwack.
Took that trail for quite some time, all the way up to the top of the hill. We found like the remnants of some kind of radio communications tower, like weather device.
Just when you think you're in the middle of nowhere, eh? Something like this exists.
And then after that, we assumed the trail would lead the other way, because that's what the Topo's app on our phone told us. But it didn't, and it taught us a lot about how you shouldn't be sure of anything. And then on the way down, it just got hairy. It became a terrible bushwhack. We completely lost the trail. So we had to bushwhack, I think. Like, it ended up being basically like 10 kilometers of bushwhacking with all the twists and turns.
Welcome to the dark lands.
I hate it here.
Hold on. Get the finger in there too. Ooh.
Nice, how? Do this and then we get a path, boys.
Hey, Kale. How's it going, bud?
Good, bud.
Oh, yeah. Nice liquid down here, eh?
Yeah.
That took like honestly everything out of us. We stopped at a pond eventually. I thought it was the end. And then we paddled to the other side, and like the real darkness began.
There you go.
And we started following this creek, and then the creek was just taking so much longer than it really should have. So we stopped, and we find the river going down. Will and Tim had actually walked probably a good 5 kilometers down it. Like they took a very long time, maybe 40 minutes walking down there. Like we were waiting for quite some time. We were actually quite concerned that they had maybe gotten injured or lost or something bad like that. And we have no maps for this area because we weren't planning on going here originally. So like we're just like, holy shit, we're screwed. Like holy crap, we're screwed. This is really, really bad. What are we gonna do? We sit there. Eventually I'm like, okay, let's restart the phone. We restart it. Wait a couple seconds. It's still not working. We're all freaking out. And then eventually it just like our location pops back onto the thing and we're fine. And then they came back. We got the phone and we realized that the river actually leads to another lake, or the creek leads to another lake that's not the one we want to go to. And that we have to bushwhack up this hill. What Will said was 700 meters. And then around, and then with all the we didn't realize that it wasn't flat ground because we don't have topographic lines on Google Maps. So all the trees and all the twists and all the turns and all the hills and all that stuff wasn't really accounted for. And I think it probably took us maybe an hour and a half. Just grueling bushwhacking.
Let's go.
And then we ended up on this trail right here. So Will went down the road here.
Right now, I'm walking along scouting out along a ATV trail that's not marked on any map. We just found deep in the woods. I don't know why it exists or where it goes or where it comes from, but there's these abandoned cabins along it. They're in ruins now, like they aren't standing, but you can see the ruins of one right back there, all that wood. That's one of them.
Realized it wasn't good. We saw the sun was setting. These trees here are high on the side, so like it was getting quite dark, and we just decided here's a clear spot. There's a creek running over here with some decent water. It's really gross water, but it's probably the best water we're gonna find for kilometers.
That's how we're rigging our water up tonight. We decided to camp on the side of that ATV Trail.
Yeah, I'll hold the bags.
Yeah. 2-man job. Look what we're drinking from.
Are you filming?
Yeah, I'm filming.
Okay, toss the filter.
There's no lakes
Not
here.
always do you get a lake.
Dark.
Sometimes you get a metal tube with water flowing out of it.
It's cold though, right?
Yeah, it's very cold. Spring-fed gutter water, you know?
Perfect. I like a little rust in my water.
This is not gonna work. No, you're just gonna have to fill in, double tab it.
So we stopped here, made dinner, just had some mac and cheese. And man, like, I've done a 50 day, I've done a 42 day, I've done a 22 day. I did all that stuff when I was a kid, like under 16, all of them. But I never ever have been through a day like this that was so just tolling on my body and mind. Like we moved, I think, maybe 10, 11 kilometers today.
Today has perhaps been the craziest, most grueling day of trip I've ever done. Right up there with that day to Dalton on 50 day. Shout out 5018. I think I'll write a book about this trip. It's been a wild time.
I remember talking at the beginning of the trip, people were asking me which days are you most scared about. I actually said it would probably be a day like this in the middle of the trip that we have no idea about, that just comes and ruins our day. And it's Jacob's birthday today. He's turning 18. He's a man now. And oh, what a manly day.
There's one thing I've learned, is that you can never be certain about anything. I'm no longer sure of anything. I mean, right in the middle of one of the darkest swamp tracks, we just ran into this road it's not marked on any map. Abandoned cabins on either side. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. How can this exist? But for that matter, how can anything exist? It's crazy complicated how this universe works, and they got things like life. That's pretty wild. I don't know, maybe I've been alone with my thoughts too long, but it really is pretty amazing to be alive.
Yeah, I'm really glad I have this group with me. The guys push each other a lot, and like we all like make sure that like everybody's going quickly, and like we all have a sense of urgency, but still being like attentive to like the others' needs, and like realizing that some people may be dying on a part when you're not exactly dying, and you need to just wait up for them or help them out in some way. But everyone is quite mature, and like they really understand these things, so it's cool, man. That's all I gotta say.
Makes me wanna cry. I wander in the darkness, feeling around like blind man. Can't find the light switch, but it only matters when. The dark side of the moon, shining back like a mirror. Shadows in the sun, bright lights in the night. What does it mean? Nobody knows. Guess we just keep floating around like a bunch of lost souls,